Video games. Who doesn't love them? Everyone's played them. They transport you to unknown worlds and put you in the hero's shoes and take you on an epic adventure. And movies. Well, movies do virtually the same thing that video games do, just minus the control of the viewer. So you would think these two worlds would cross over seamlessly, right? Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. So wrong. To this day, there have been countless video game adaptations. And without being overly harsh, they range from abysmal to mediocre at best. I'm optimistic about Zach Cregger's Resident Evil project, but it led me to wondering, why is it so hard to make a great video game movie? Well, for starters, video games take 10 to 12 hours at least to tell the full linear story, whereas movies, they really have 2 to 3 hours to tell a rich, fleshed out story. Another psychological reason is that when you're sitting through a video game movie of a video game that you love, it makes you just want to go back and play the video game, not sit through a beat for beat lesser recreation of a story that you have no control over and can't have as much fun. We as humans love control, and video games give us that. May not have control over a lot of other areas of our life, but with video games, we do. For diehard video game lovers, a movie is always going to be a lesser experience because you just don't have this level of control. We're not as involved in the story. Another issue is with video games, we don't have to buy into photorealistic graphics. It's almost like a cartoon or an animated show or movie where we don't fall into that uncanny valley. We buy into what we're seeing because it falls into that cartoonish realm. Even modern video games like Baldur's Gate 3 or Diablo 4, they fall into that realm where they have high fidelity graphics, but they don't need to be one-to-one photorealistic recreations of what is real. So we can buy into the world that we're being transported to easier than a movie, where a movie, because it has a lot of static shots, we highly scrutinize what we're seeing. But this all got me thinking about superhero movies, because there was a point in time, not that long ago, 20 plus years ago, where it was thought impossible to make a superhero movie that was Academy Award worthy. Then Sam Raimi stepped up and showed us with his Spider-Man films that this isn't out of the realm of possibility. Then Christopher Nolan stepped up and grabbed that torch and really showed us that a movie like The Dark Knight can be held just as highly by critics as a movie like The Godfather. So I have faith that at some point a truly incredible video game adaptation will enter the world. And who knows, maybe it'll come soon. Maybe it'll be Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. But until then, all we can do is laugh about how absolutely garbage 99% of video game movies are. So let's talk about the worst of the worst and the least mid of the mid. Starting with the, oh my god, this is offensive on every level, we have the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie. Not only is it not faithful to the source material in the slightest, but it's just a really bad movie. This movie's just so ugly to look at, and it has a miserable story. Just look at this Goomba! I am sorry if that scarred you permanently. This is the worst of the worst for me because not only is it a terrible narrative, but it didn't even try to emulate the world building and the story of its source material. Doom is similar in this regard. It tried a little harder than the Super Mario Bros. Movie did to recreate the world, but mostly it's just a typical rock slop movie with one sequence towards the end paying true homage. Movies like Hitman, Max Payne, Need for Speed all fall into this category. We'll call this category the oh my god, these movies have no business existing category. Speaking of the rock slop, let's get into movies that are still very bad but aren't as offensive. Rampage, a movie that should have never been made. Just the Walmart generic shitty version of Godzilla vs. Kong. It's mindless entertainment, but it's nothing more. Now we move into movies that tried to nail the aesthetic, but were just so brutally horrible they became nothing more than slop that you throw on to laugh at How could this have ever been made? Our first culprit here is Borderlands. Good God. Brutally goofy effects combined with terrible casting and acting created a miserable cinematic experience. Eli Roth seems like a solid dude, but is a terrible director. Then we have the Resident Evil movies. First of all, shout out to Olivia Jackson, a stunt woman that lost her arm, suffered brain injuries, and had her cheek ripped off to the point her teeth were exposed, doing a stunt. And the scumbag producers tried to screw her over without compensating her and without taking care of her medical bills. Disgusting. But besides for that, these movies are just corny and painfully bland. Some of them are better than others. They have fun elements, sure, but just not my cup of tea. But not the worst of the worst. Similarly, the Mortal Kombat movies. Fun and campy, but god awful. Less bland than Resident Evil though. But god, Annihilation is painful. Some of those effects, oof. The reboot was pretty solid though. One of the best video game movies ever, and the sequel looks to be even better. Or let's look at Prince of Persia or Assassin's Creed. These movies should have been layups. Great premises that should translate to the big screen effortlessly with incredible actors at the lead. But due to terrible decisions and terrible scripts, and I'm sure people that never actually played the video games at the helm, these movies are unwatchable. And what a shame. Big budgets wasted. Then you have the Tomb Raider movies. The first two with Angelina Jolie made me a man. But they aren't great movies, but for sure better than a lot of the other video game movies. They capture a spirit of adventure, and the reboot was even better, with my boy Walton Goggins as the villain. Not a terrible movie by any means. In a similar vein to these movies, we have Uncharted, which captured an Indiana Jones type of adventurous spirit. So for sure, Uncharted's better than 90% of video game movies because there's some semblance of a plot. But a movie with zero plot that services fans well is the Minecraft movie. God, I hate movies like this with zero plot. But hey, at least it built the world in a true way to the source material and gave the fans the service they wanted. Or the Illumination Super Mario movie, another Jack Black video game movie. Not bad. Not very good, but not bad. Some of the voice acting is god awful.
That's what they came here for! Dancing packs! Now, since I want this fight to last...
Like Seth Rogen isn't even trying. And what the hell was Fred Armisen thinking? But the world building is true to the games, and at least, unlike the Minecraft movie, there is some sort of plot going on. Five Nights at Freddy's is a mild step in the right direction as well. It services fandom while also providing some level of plot. Not a good plot, and the scares should have been scarier, but at least it's not absolute dog doo-doo like most other video game movies. Let's move to Detective Pikachu, a movie that nails the world building but really lacks a compelling plot. It tries to weave an interesting narrative, but it truly doesn't make much sense, and some of the Pokemon are really hard to look at. Just make a movie about a boy from Pallet Town challenging gym leaders and fighting Team Rocket, and make the Pokemon look less hyper-realistic. I respect the effort, but yuck. But now we finally get to the only video game movies that I would consider actually good. The only ones that feel like they have any rewatchability and actually have soul poured into them by people that care about the original source material. And that's the Sonic movies. The first one was decent. For sure one of the best video game movies, but 2 and 3 raise the bar and truly are the creme de la creme. The character designs, the world building, the acting, the plot, it's all really working well in these movies. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is pure joy. You can really tell he's having a blast in these movies. The video game IP that I think would make the best films and translate the best is The Legend of Zelda. If you can tap into a Lord of the Rings quality aesthetic and build a rich, fleshed out world with that wonderful source material, I really think those adaptations could be sensational. Halo as well. I'd love to see a great Master Chief on the big screen. But yeah, that's the reason that they haven't really been able to make a great video game movie. I think a great video game movie is going to take a creator that really loves the original video game, that really is passionate about the source material. It's going to take pretty decent financing because most video games have fantastical worlds where you're going to need to use a lot of visual effects. And I think the story of the video game that they're adapting has to be pretty translatable to a big screen format. They did a great job with Sonic to take a really nothing story and turn it into a compelling story. But imagine you take a video game that already has a compelling story, like Legend of Zelda or Halo, and you take it to the big screen, you finance it properly, you have creators that love it, you have actors that are bringing these characters to life who play the video games and love it. I mean, I think that's the type of situation that we will see leading to a truly incredible video game movie. And who knows, maybe it will be Zach Cregger's Resident Evil, but here's to hoping that Cregger can pull it off, and here's to hoping that we get a new era of video game movies. What are your favorite video game movies? What do you think about the movies that I mentioned? What are some of your favorites that maybe I didn't mention? What's your list of the best and the worst video game movies? And are you excited about Resident Evil? If you like the video, then please like the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and I promise to keep pumping out really great content for you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, stay tuned for the next one. Tay out.